Story 1. My best friend, 22 female, is giving up a full-ride scholarship to be with her boyfriend of less than 3 months. Throwaway for anonymity reasons. My best friend has a full-ride scholarship, tuition, rent, books from our university. She's a very book-smart girl and has been on the dean's list almost every semester. This is our 3rd year of college. The issue is that she is a gullible person. Even though she's book smart, she will get caught up in things like multi-level marketing schemes. She'll date older men who take advantage of her. Many things like that. While she was home over the summer, she and her old high school crush, 20 male, started hanging out. At the end of summer, he officially asked her to be his girlfriend. I like the guy and think he's better for her than her past flings, but they're getting very serious very fast. Last month, she told me she was thinking about transferring to his university. I told her that was ridiculous, as she would give up her scholarship and have to take out loans. Turns out, she applied to transfer anyway. Today, she got her acceptance notice and couldn't be more excited. I've already told her this is a bad idea, but she is so gullible, and her mother is the same way. Her mom thinks this is true love. 2 small-town lovebirds crossing paths again. My roommate keeps saying that this is just like her parents' romance, and she needs to give this relationship everything. Oh, her parents are divorced, by the way. Is there anything I can say or do to help her reconsider? I've already voiced my opinion once, and it didn't do anything. I know that this was written in the past, and I'm so upset knowing that this person probably went through with it and gave up her scholarship to go to the same university as this high school crush boyfriend. And I'm so upset. Don't do that! Please! Especially if you're already in your 3rd year, you've already got so much college under your belt. They're paying for everything. Do you not know how expensive college is right now? My God! Why? And this is coming from someone who, little hint for you here, I gave up going away for college because of my high school sweetheart that I was still seeing. You know, I was 18, 19 at the time or whatever, and I could have gone out to a university. I had a number of them after me. I had my ACT score was, I don't know, 32 or something. Like, I had a lot of good offers. And I stayed and I went to community college, and I just picked a major that I wasn't even that interested in, and I ended up dropping out, and we broke. It was just a mess. Please don't do this! If it's love, if it's real special magical love, you could deal with the long distance. You'll find each other afterwards. I promise you can still have your fairy tale ending, but also without all the debt and maybe a better degree. Please don't do this! Story 2. No refunds once you've stepped out of the store? Fine. I won't step out of the store. This happens in a large store in a European country. When you purchase something from them and for any reason want to return the item, their policy is that they never give money back. They only give you a voucher redeemable the same day only. I went to the store today and purchased quite a long list of items. When I got home, my wife looked at them and said that we don't need some of them. I go back to the store, barely 20 minutes pass. The returns manager smiles at me as I tell her I just purchased these and would like to return them. She tells me that I stepped out of the store, so she can't get a refund. Only give me a voucher and I must buy something else. I'd already bought everything I needed. Then she tells me to take the products home and keep them for the next time I would need to buy something. Then I can come and get the voucher and redeem it. Imagine keeping a pair of shoes and a bowl and remember to bring them with you the next time you happen to need something. I tried to reason, but she was adamant. Those are the rules. You stepped out of the store. You didn't get a refund. And then it clicked. I asked, so if someone wants to return an item without leaving the store, they get the money back, yes? You see where this is heading. Malicious compliance kicking in. I asked to return the items and get the voucher. I take the voucher, get inside the store, find a product for exactly the same amount, buy it with the voucher. Right after the cashier, there's the returns manager. Straight from the cashier, I go to her. Hand her that random product I just bought and say, I would like to return this. I don't want it, and I never left the store. She looks at me with barely contained rage in her eyes. I kid you not. The awkward pause was getting longer, and then her manager comes along, looks at us, and I smile at him and say, "I never left the store, and I would like to get a refund for this, please." He nods. Silent and not looking at me, she proceeds to refund me the money in cash. Company policy, right? Look, I can understand why some stores have more strict return policies, because there are a lot of folks out there, people who are going to try and abuse this system and always get their money back. I worked at a Walmart once. I've seen people returning big screen TVs the day after the Super Bowl, so it happens, all right? And yeah, if a store is going to have a non-standard return policy, I'm typically fine with that. And you better make that so abundantly clear to each and every customer. If you're going to have a return policy this strict, and this is an unusually strict return policy, which I'm fine with, but if you're going to have it, then as you're checking them out, just know, by the way, just remember our return policy is once you've left the store, it cannot be returned for cash. Only in-store voucher used that day. You say that every time. You have at the bottom of the receipt printed in big bold letters, return policy, no cash back, whatever. It is the onus is on the store to make that very clear. People can argue with me. I don't care. I've worked for a store that had a super strict return policy, but we were very clear. The whole back wall behind the cashier, like genuinely, I think we measured it and it was 30 feet tall, was the return policy in these huge block letters. It was on the receipt, and as cashiers, it was a rote thing that we would just recite with every purchase. I'm okay with it then, and only then. Story 3. Had the roommate from hell and couldn't get rid of her, so I made living with me as miserable as possible. This happened in 2008 to 2009, but I thought this community would appreciate the story. In 2008, I had just left my husband. I caught him cheating multiple times, and I was just over it. A new girl, we'll call her Amy, started at my job, and we made fast friendship. I was in the middle of packing up and moving out of my house. I needed a roommate for a new apartment I was looking at because my wages weren't going to pay the bills. So we moved in together and lived peacefully together for a while. I was moving on with my life. I had gotten a better paying job, was spending time with my friends, and I felt okay with life at the time. At the time, I was 25, single, and not looking for anything serious, so I had a friends with benefit who would stop over a few times a week. Amy was cool with it, on the surface. It did not affect her in any way. My friend didn't hang out at our place, he didn't eat at our place, he didn't use our household supplies. My relationship with him affected her exactly 0%. But I guess she was a little green about the fact that I was getting some attention and she was not. She would flirt with him, go visit him where he worked, etc., but he was absolutely not interested in her. This is where things started to go downhill. For context, she had been married a few times. She was 13 years older than me, and the dads had full custody of their respective kids. She was dating someone, but he was already in a relationship, so he wasn't about to commit to anything besides stopping by for 30 minutes after he worked the night shift every day. I tried to point out all the red flags, but she was convinced it was love. This dude used to hit me constantly in front of her. I hope that's hit on me. He was very open about being in a committed relationship with his girlfriend, so I have no idea why Amy thought this was going anywhere. After a few months, I met someone I wanted to be serious with, so we started dating. We will call the guy Tom. Tom and I got serious pretty fast. He was living in a horrible situation, so he moved in with Amy and I pretty quickly. I think it was after about a month of dating. So we have our room and she has her own room. The bills went from 50-50 to 33-33-34 to make sure things were still even. We had a shared kitchen, living room, and bathroom. After Tom moved in, she started openly hitting on him in front of me. Every guy I had at my house, even just friends, she had to hit on. None of them ever took her up on it. Every single one turned her down, and I think this added greatly to her oncoming behavior. Over the next couple of weeks, Amy did a complete 180. She stopped paying rent, refused to buy any food, and would just eat whatever Tom and I had bought and would not wash her dishes. We had 2 cats, one hers and one mine, and she would never clean the litter in her room so that her cat would use our hallway floor as a bathroom every single day. Every day when I got home from work, there was a big steaming pile of cat crap right inside my front door, sitting in the middle of a giant puddle of urine. My cat was locked in my room at night with her own supplies, so there was zero chance it was her. It was the same thing every morning by the front door. Whenever she was done eating the food she stole from me, she would set her plate with the leftovers on the kitchen floor for her cat to pick at. She would leave the plate there for days, to the point that if I didn't pick them up, there would be multiple plates on the floor with food in various stages of decay. All of my dishes started going missing except for the cat's plates, of course, and what dishes were left, she refused to wash, ever. She used my toilet paper, my laundry soap, even my tampons. This went on for about 2 months, and it just kept getting progressively worse. She would use panty liners every day and would change them multiple times a day and stuff them in the garbage can in the bathroom. She would leave it there completely overflowing and spilling onto the floor for days until I caved and put on gloves and threw them out. The can would be full in about a week, so this happened a few times. That's not even the worst of it. My expensive DSLR went missing. I was a photography hobbyist at the time, but it was my dream to be a professional photographer and own my own photography business. I would shoot stuff for friends and family as practice, and one day I grabbed my camera bag from the shared living room, and as soon as I picked it up, I felt my heart sink into my stomach. You know that instant dread that grips you the second you realize something truly gut-wrenching has happened? I opened the bag, and of course the camera is gone. That was an expensive camera for that time of my life, and it was a gift from my parents, so I was truly devastated. I couldn't prove a thing, and I wasn't even sure how long it had been missing. It could have been her boyfriend that took it, but either way, it was gone. So now, this is it. This is the last straw. I need this bee out. I went from nice girl to effing psycho in about 30 seconds. I'm not the violent type, and I hate confrontation. I'm not waiting for an effing eviction to go through, and I really didn't have the money for that anyway, so here's where I start my petty revenge. Amy wants to live here with me rent-free, stealing my crap, hitting on my boyfriend, and neglecting her cat? So be it. But it's going to be on my effing terms. One vital piece of information. In my divorce, the D-head moved back in with Mommy, and I took everything from the house to my new apartment, so I owned everything and the lease was in my name. I started by changing the Wi-Fi password and the computer password. The following week, I had my cable company come and remove the cable lines to her room. I bought a small fridge for my room and a cabinet and put all my food and personal supplies in my bedroom and put a secure lock on my door. I hid my pots and pans. I locked up the soap and toilet paper. The cabinets were empty. I paid for it all, and I would be the only one using it. When her cat crapped on the floor, I would pick it up and smear it on her bedroom doorknob. Overflowing bathroom trash cans filled to the brim with her panty liners were dumped on her bed. I removed the knobs to the washer and the dryer. I did everything possible to make her life uncomfortable. I did other small stuff, anything that came to mind. A few months prior, Amy and I had been working at the same store, and she borrowed another coworker's laptop. She ended up getting fired, but she never gave the laptop back, and the coworker was really trying to get it back from her. Amy ghosted her, of course, so while she was out one day, I went in and took the laptop and gave it back to its rightful owner. Amy called the cops on me and said I stole her computer, but I explained what happened. She admitted to the cops that the computer wasn't hers, and the cops said it wasn't their problem anymore. That one really made her hate me. She wasn't working at the time, so it's not like she had money to do anything or buy anything. She was literally just existing in a room in my apartment. She would disappear during the day, but I have no idea where she was going. She moved out after about 6 weeks. When she moved out of my apartment, I didn't even know she had left. I just noticed she wasn't coming or going for about a week, so Tom and I cleaned out her room. She left her clothes, broken furniture, a cardboard dresser, and 5 39-gallon garbage bags of trash we collected from the mass piles of panty liners, rotting food, and ordinary trash we found in the room. It's a miracle we didn't have roaches. I found all my missing dishes, silverware, and cups all covered in food and grossness. I just threw it all away. I wish I still had the photos, though. Oddly enough, about 6 months later, I opened my back door to take out the trash, and my camera was in a bag hanging from my doorknob. I know Amy definitely didn't return it. For about 2 years after, every time I would find out that Amy was living with someone new, I would message them and send them the photos of her room, papers in the trash that had her name on them, and I would tell them the whole story. One time it caused the people she was living with to throw her crap out on the porch. She had just moved in and they had small kids and they didn't want to risk it with her. I stopped after that. She knew it was me telling them too, so I figured I had sufficiently made my point. Normally I would tell people not to get into wars with either roommates or neighbors because it's a battle that you don't want to fight. You're just making yourself miserable by making them miserable because you have to live with them nearby and with a roommate in your same house. But I guess I didn't anticipate that I would encounter someone who was just a full-on, supervillain. I mean, I guess you're the hero because Amy sounds terrible, but what you did wasn't heroic. But I also enjoyed it. You're like one of the villains that you find yourself rooting for. You're like a Walter White or something like that. I didn't even know what to say. This is both terrifying and very impressive. Story 4. Neighbor is an a-hole, so I caused a potentially catastrophic rift in his marriage. So this happened a couple weeks ago, but I saw the results earlier today. A bit of backstory. I live in a predominantly Mormon area, and I am not Mormon. I receive quite a bit of criticism from my across-the-street neighbor because of the religious difference. I'm assuming we've never interacted before he started effing with me. He currently has 10 children. About a month ago, on trash day, he told one of his kids to kick my trash can over into the street. The kid did it, and I witnessed everything. This is not the first time he has kicked my trash over, and I figured it was a lost cause to go over there and ask them for some decency more than I already have. That same day, I was reminded by a friend about how I used to have a pen pal when I was younger before I moved. Later that night, I was browsing the web looking for a pen pal when I stumbled across a cool-sounding site, prisonpenpals.com. I visited the site and after clicking through a few dodgy links, was brought to an array of different prisoners who were looking for a pen pal. After doing a bit of browsing from there, I stumbled across a fellow who was on death row for first-degree murder. Feeling bad for this guy, but not wanting to give my address out, you send an email, the guards print it out and give it to the prisoner, who then writes you a letter and delivers it to your physical address. I remember the a-hole across the street. More out of curiosity than malice, I proceeded to write a very detailed letter about how I am a trapped, secretly gay Mormon man with 10 kids who's looking to start an extramarital affair with a prisoner. I put his address and send. I had my hilarious, petty satisfaction. I expected nothing to come out of this. I thought he would be going through his mail, see the letter, not open it, toss it, and think nothing of it after that. But boy, was I wrong. Of course, with it being a small town, this guy does run a small business where one of my acquaintances work. I went in just earlier today and chatted with my acquaintance before he told me, "Oh my God, did you hear about Neighbor?" I said no, because I hadn't, and he filled me in on all of the details. Apparently, one of the neighbor's kids had brought in the mail, only for his wife to find it and read the letter from this prisoner responding to the joke letter that I wrote. I don't know the specifics of the letter, but I do know that his wife threw an effing fit when he arrived home and made him pack his bags. My acquaintance informed me that this was not the first time Neighbor had started or tried to start an affair with another man. And apparently this was the last straw for her. I am still shocked, horrified, and extremely amused by this predicament. I feel a little conflicted about this. First, let's just address the irony that, again, we have proof of my saying, don't start wars with neighbors. Because this Mormon neighbor guy started a war by having his kids do some crap, and this person responded with weapons of mass destruction and destroyed him. However, I do feel kind of bad for the neighbor because clearly this church is forcing him to repress a side of himself that's real. Like, this guy is in the closet and desperate to come out, but he's just stuck in this church that won't let him, that makes him think that it's wrong and awful. And so I have some sympathy for him, but God, I mean, he started being a jerk too. Like, I don't know. I'm conflicted. Story 5. I am pregnant and my boyfriend is threatening to take our baby from me when born. I'm 12 weeks pregnant with a planned pregnancy, and my boyfriend is threatening to take our child away after a bad fight. He has a bad temper, and we've been fighting more often since I got pregnant. These fights can get explosive, especially when he drinks, which he does a lot. Since I've been pregnant, he has screamed at me, threatened to hurt my dog and my cat because they don't behave like he thinks they should. He punches things when he's angry or slams doors. He slammed the sliding glass door so hard the other night that it stopped closing all the way. Usually these fights end with me crying and him falling asleep. He will apologize the next day once he sobers up. Tonight was the worst I've ever seen him. We both work for the same company, and I set up and even volunteered to work. Everything was fine all day until the end. He called me to say F you, and if I ever set up another event, he would leave me and take our child. He called me again later to pick him up because he and his ride got into an argument where they both almost got arrested. He was over an hour away. I drove there and he refused to get into my car. He started berating me and calling me and my family horrible names. He told me to get an abortion. I ended up leaving after an hour because he refused to come with me. Then he was mad because he couldn't find a hotel to stay in, and I left him. He got an Uber home and started grabbing all of his stuff and told me he's going to take me to court and he will win custody of our child. He makes significantly more than me and said that the court will rule in his favor and I will never see our kid again. I recorded while he was yelling at me tonight. Can I use this as evidence? I also have eyewitness evidence that he's verbally abusive. Is there anything else I should do to help my case? Yeah, I mean, just get every bit of evidence you can. Get, character witnesses or whatever it is. Basically, my advice is go talk to a lawyer right now. Talk to a lawyer immediately, because divorces and all this stuff are messy enough. So you talk to a lawyer right the F now. You find out exactly what that lawyer is going to tell you to do, because maybe you can't use the recording because of the state you're in, or who knows what. But that lawyer will tell you exactly what evidence to put together, and you use that. You use the hell out of that. And you keep this man away from you because he is a walking red flag. And I would not want him within 100 feet of that child until he has gone through just the most rehabilitation possible. Just awful. But yeah, folks, in situations like this, do not be afraid to go and lawyer up. I know it's expensive and all that, but if he's already threatening this, protect yourself, protect your kid. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.